and once that will be recorded, I'll share the recording. So let's see the agenda again. It's like we'll see why automation is important, what are the things we should start learning, and what is the quality assurance or test engineer professionals role nowadays, roles and responsibilities, what industry is expecting from the test engineers, and how to start learning. Fine. So let's proceed. So let's try to understand that why test automation is becoming more and more important. So earlier, like 10 years back, we have software development life cycle. There are different kind of software development life cycle. So most of the companies were working on waterfall model. And even if they were working on the rapid application development model, the thing is they had enough number of days for testing. And let's say for last 10 years, there are like a good evaluation, or you can say it's like um, a lot of things has happened on development front as well as on the testing front. So development practice itself has become very fast, right? So agile model has come where most of the you may be knowing this thing, that if you're working on the sprint, it's like 2 week sprint or 3 week sprint, where you have to deliver something productive, something useful, some workable product. So if we are following this thing, the problem is we have limited number of days for testing. And when you have limited number of days, that doesn't mean you have to cut down your test cases. The test case get increased day by day, right? So for example, if in a sprint 1 you had 20 new test cases added, on the sprint 2 or on the next release, you will have again some 20 to 25 test cases, and that get increased, but the number of days for the testing is limited. So in that way, there are a good regression test suite which will be there to test at the end of the sprint or anytime whenever is the release is there. So that's why it's a good thing to automate those test cases. Obviously, that will save the time, that will save the money amount. Obviously, the budget will be less. It's very obvious, if 5 test engineers are working manually to run a regression test suite of let's say 400 test case and taking 4 days, if that can be done in just 1 day or 5 hours, obviously that will be like a benefit for the organization, right? So mostly like agile model evolution has triggered this thing. But now, what kind of tests are important is API testing nowadays, and it was there before also. But what are the test cases which can be automated, right, in a fast way is API test, functional test, non-functional checks, visual test, and the functional test, right? So I believe that you people know about this thing. If you don't know, not an issue, but you can try learning this thing. What is an API testing? What is the functional testing? Everyone is doing. Functional testing is just testing the flow, testing the basic functional thing which is developed. Non-functional checks are those which are like which is not related to functionality but the performance related thing, maybe the security thing also. Visual test is related to the look and feel and how readable, how useful your application is. Now there are different roles. So I'm not talking about the manual testing or the functional test engineer as of now, because everybody knows that what are the roles and responsibilities of test engineer or the manual QAs. Here I'm talking about what are the expectation these days if you have this kind of role or the designation. But that doesn't mean that it will restrict to what I have written here. There are a lot of other tasks which actually test engineer does on daily basis. So when we say QA automation, it's generally end-to-end functional test automation and learning how you can put it into the continuous integration way, right? So your test cases should be able to be executed without any human intervention, and it should get executed whenever a new build has arrived, whenever there is a new code change happened into the source management tool like Git. So basically, from the QA automation guy, it is expected that he or she will automate anything which can reduce human effort. But there is another term SDET, which is like is it's very like cream nowadays. Is like the big companies like Amazon and Microsoft, they started this term basically. So software development engineering test, SDET. So it's like more of working with the developers to maintain or design automation framework, any tool which can help on testing. Right? There are we cannot find any particular definition of any of these role, but what I'm talking about based on my experience, what I have seen, I myself has worked as a SDET for like 4 years, and in this way I know, and I worked as a QA automation engineer as well. As of now I'm working as a, let's say, full stack QA, so I know how this journey has happened and what are the things to learn. Fine. So I forgot to introduce myself. So this is a good way that to introduce that I have worked as a, like I have uh, worked as all this kind of role, right? So it's like uh, I have around 12 years of experience now. So I started my career as a Visual C++ developer, and then moved to testing where I learned this manual testing, and then what is automation. I worked with the tools like Ranorex, Rational Robot, and Selenium, Java for API testing, different kind of tools and the automation framework. Right, fine. So full stack QA, that is another term which is used, though it is not a fully qualified name as of now. It's like full stack developer you must have heard. So what we say, the person who complements the full stack developer is a full stack QA. Will work on the front end as well as back end in all way possible for the testing purpose only. So let's move to the next, is like now the important thing is how to start learning. So we will emphasize more on this slide, and I'll talk more on this. Right? So I'm starting from the left side. First of all, don't be in hurry to learn the things, and to learn a lot of things. Right, you must be hearing from all sort of information that learn it quickly, are you a quick learner, right? So theoretically, it looks good when you say, yes, I am a quick learner. It's good to put into the resume, yes, I am a quick learner. But the thing is, if you are learning something quickly, are we going in depth to learn something, right? So now the demand is we should not be good in thousand things, right? For a test engineer, he should be good on 5 to 6 things. That is also fine, no problem. But you should keep adding, keep on your competencies. You should keep learning the things in a good way. So don't be in a hurry to learn anything. When you are learning something, start it and then end it with practical knowledge, with all sort of knowledge which you can share with anybody, right? You should be in a position when you get knowledge about something, you should be in a position to spread it, right? So that is the validation of getting the knowledge. Once you are, you gain some kind of technical competency, it's good to share with anyone. So second thing is assess your strength and master in one thing at a time. So um, first of all, we should not underestimate ourselves. What happens with the manual test engineers, basically, it's like once you are already have worked on, let's say, for 4 to 5 years or more than 2 years, we get into some kind of comfort zone, or we may be good in domain or anything, right? But then what happened is, um, because we are not growing with the world, there are a lot of things happening in the technical front, in the testing, right? So you may be lag behind what is happening in the real world. So it's good to assess what your strength, and then obviously you have to learn. Right, so you may be good on, if you are good in programming, yes, learn it and do a mastery on it. Though in the testing there is nothing like you have to do a very sophisticated kind of development, right? It's just basic thing you have to learn, right? But learn the different things. So I'll give an example. Let's say if you are good in Java programming, right? So there are basic things: if, else, right, while, different kind of loop, different kind of data structure, exception handling. But try to understand how you can implement it and how you will be using it in your test automation. So you should try learning file handling. That's a very basic thing. How to open a notepad, how to open any file through Java code, how to write something on Java code, how to read something from the through the Java code or any programming language, right? How you can find the, I'm just giving an example, how to find a file which is present in your folder structure directory, how to find the biggest size, the file which has the maximum size, right? I'm just giving an example, and it's not a big deal. Once you are good in program, you can do anything, and it's very basic. Third thing is, don't over rely on online content. Make your own program, practice it, talk about it. So what happens sometimes, we learn it from the online, some tutorial or anything, and we are restricting ourselves to practice in the way what is written in the, what you have seen in online, right? What you have seen as a tutorial and you are practicing it. So I'll give you an example. Let's say you learn something on automation, and in the example you saw, okay, you can do this thing, but don't restrict yourself to automate just one part of it, just one website. So let's say, I'll give a real example. Let's say you have, you know how to automate a website abc.com, right? But then you should try 100 different websites whether you are able to automate other websites also or not, other APIs or not, because there are a lot of difference with different technology from where this website has made. So there are a lot of things like in nowadays it's like Angular application. Front end technology has evolved like anything. In last 5 to 6 years, there are a lot of development has happened in front end side, and that's a challenge for the automation people. So Angular, HTML5, Bootstrap, mobile, different kind of mobile widgets are there to test. There are a lot of things that happen. Okay, so now what are the things are important? I'm just concentrating here about the automation, and mostly on the browser automation or web-based test automation. So people generally start learning like Ranorex or Selenium or UiPath or QTP, UFT, right? Directly. But what I'm advising here is don't be in hurry to learn directly any tool. Spend some time to understand HTML code, what is CSS, what is JavaScript. So once you learn this thing, actually these are the front end thing which you will get a feel how the application is made, and then it will be very easy for you to automate any application. Now I have written one thing, why Unix command are important, because once you learn something, it's not like that you working on the Windows system, right? So you should be ready with some Unix command also. So it's a basic thing which you can learn, and there are like tools which you can install in your Windows system and try Unix command. That is also possible. You can just try it. I'm just putting what are the things we should learn. Is programming language important? Yes. Without learning a programming language, we cannot automate. Any automation tool, there is a need to to put your code in some kind of specific programming language. We'll talk about what to learn. And then 21 days rule apply everywhere. I don't know whether you people have heard about it or not. The 21 days rule is, if you practice anything for 20 days, good or bad, anything, you'll get addicted, and you will be actually able to keep on learning. So it's like if you are learning something daily, let's say for 1 hour, if you're learning HTML, so HTML is actually in 21 days it will finish. You will be able to learn most of the things. But if you, so for example, if you read a book, right, any book for 21 days, or if you do like meditation for let's say 21 days, right, it's like you keep it feeling good about it, and you will continue doing it. So it's good to, whenever you are learning something, don't stop in between, right? So try keep on doing the same thing for 3 weeks. It's like this. Though it's not a hard fact rule. It's just a thing to implement. Yeah. So let's start. We will talk about now what are the things you can learn, and what is important nowadays. So there are a lot of things to learn, but learn it one by one. And I'll talk about why these things are important, why you should not skip any of these. Okay. First thing is front end. Front end thing is important, and generally front end is made of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. HTML is it's like a web designing code. You can learn it through W3 Schools is a very good website. From there you can learn there's HTML tutorial is there chapter by chapter.
Nitish, can you talk bit louder? Actually, the voice is very low.
Okay, thanks for informing. So what I was saying is it fine now?
Okay, somewhat better. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, please mute yourself. But fine. So what I was saying is you should start learning HTML. W3 Schools is a good website from where you can get this tutorial, HTML tutorial. CSS is basically what we say. It's more of designing again. So for example, let's say you have a text box or a button. So how it should look, what should be the color, how many pixels are there. So a style thing is included in CSS, but it's important to learn. It's not, will not take much time to learn. JavaScript is actually some kind of, in the JavaScript code, we have functions, sometimes client side validation function, sometimes server side also. So you should, and you don't have to learn everything on JavaScript, just the basic thing, how JavaScript codes are injected or embedded into the HTML code, and how it, what it does, right? And sometimes I'll give you an example. So for example, there is a website and there is a button, and when you click on that, generally one JavaScript code is executed, which is like on click. There will be a function which will be executed, and then it will go basically on the what I say, maybe the API server and the business layer and to the database. It will fetch something. It will show back to your system. That's a different thing. But JavaScripts are like important to understand. It is actually embedded into the HTML code only. Now let's talk about backend thing. So I just put MySQL here, but you cannot restrict yourself just for the MySQL. If you can learn anything like in the database, it's good to start with the MySQL, and gradually you can learn with, because there are no much difference. Once you learn MySQL, you will be able to work on like Oracle and SQL Server, or you will be able to understand. Actually, you'll be able to relate to any relational database, or NoSQL thing is also there, right? So start learning MySQL. It's a very easy thing, like creating your own database on your system, make some table, and try to learn queries. I'll put up all these things, how you can learn it, and from where you will get the source to learn these things, maybe on my next webinar, probably on next Saturday or Sunday, I'll inform. But as of now, keep this thing in mind that SQL is important, because ultimately whatever you do on your web application, it it somehow connected to the database only. Everything is stored in the database, and it gets the data from the database. Third thing is learn a programming language, and I have put oblique Java, Python, JavaScript. I'm not saying that you should not learn other languages. So C Sharp, you can replace Java with C Sharp, Python with Perl, but JavaScript, for JavaScript, there is no replacement. JavaScript is a good thing to learn. But why I'm saying Java at first is because it is the widely accepted thing nowadays for automation, so object-oriented programming, and it's easy to learn. Though easy to learn statement is like a subjective thing for different people, but if we compare with other programming language, because you're familiar with object oriented concept, maybe from your graduation or school days, with the C and C++ and maybe Java also. So it's good to start learning Java first. Python also, or Python is also good. JavaScript, we'll talk about this thing maybe on my next webinar, but it's good thing to learn, but learn it one at a time. Then Selenium. Why I have put Selenium as a tool is because more than 50% of the market is captured by Selenium. And why I have put Selenium is because once you learn Selenium, in future, if you learn any other automation tool, you will be able to relate with Selenium that, okay, it was happening in Selenium like this, and this is happening something similar with other tool or maybe differently. So it's like you must have heard this, that C language is the mother language of all other programming language, right? So once you learn C language, and then when you learn any other language, you are able to relate the things. Okay, in C it was happening like printf or scanf. Now in the Java it is happening like system.out.println or scanner or buffer reader, anything, right? So you're able to relate it at least. So in the same way, when you learn Selenium with Java or Selenium with Python, you'll once you get a good level of confidence on this automation tool, you'll be able to learn anything in future, which may be related to another programming language or any other kind of thing, but you will be able to relate it and you will be able to learn it quickly. Okay, so prerequisite. It's not like that the fourth point. For the fourth point to start, 1, 2, 3 are the prerequisite. But if you know these things, first, second, and third point, your journey will be very easy to work with any automation tool. And if I talk these things practically, let's say all of you will start learning this thing, right? After 2 years, if you are not good with the first, second, and third point, let's say, and all of you, which most of the people are doing, will start learning the fourth point, which is directly jumping into any automation like Selenium or anything. After 2 years, you will face the problem. After 2 years or 3 years, you will feel that we should have learned HTML, CSS. We should have learned some kind of database thing also, and we should have good knowledge of programming language first, right? And after 2 years, there will be like a lot of competition because everyone, like all the most of the test engineers will be on the same page, will be on the same level, who knows Selenium and automation. But and at that point, if you want to make a difference from other test automation engineers, is like learning what I have mentioned in the first, second, and third button. So other aspects of learning this thing is, for test automation or for any quality assurance professional, is you should be good with the communication. And communication doesn't mean that if you are fluent on any language, that is sufficient. No. Communication, when we talk about, especially in testing, is it should be at the right time. What you want to say should be at the right time and to the right person or to the right team, and quickly doesn't mean that you should be like quick on everything. It's like quickly means when you're putting your points, right, don't delay the things. It's like this. So I'll give an example. For example, let's say a defect has come, right? And you know that it's a real defect, and then you should not waste your time to, raise that defect or put that defect on the tool. You should be quick to communicate this defect to the developers or to the right person. In that way, I have written quickly. Learn from anywhere, but understand what is good. You can learn from anywhere, but understand. So understanding the things, it's like once you get matured, when you start learning from different places, different resources, after certain point, you'll be able to understand what are the good things to learn, right? And what are the things which you can skip. Then share and talk about what you know and what you don't know. So don't hesitate about what you know. Sharing is a good thing to, validate your own knowledge and get new things. And it's good to share what you don't know. So for example, as of now, I don't know what is automation anywhere. There is tool for like RPA, test automation tool, letting automation anywhere. I don't know as of now. I know UI path though. Fine. Learning Selenium is good, same as learning the mother language C. I have already talked about this. SQL is never ending thing. Don't underestimate this. We will talk about this thing in detail sometime. API test will always help. So I don't know if you people know this thing, but API testing is like application programming interface testing is also important. What we do generally is the user interface testing, functional testing, but API is the thing which is actually called when you do any kind of action on the page. So for example, let me show an example. Let's say if you are, I'm just on some page here, and so for example, I'll close this thing. So for example, this is a free CRM website. I have already logged in, and let me go to the home. And what is, I'm just describing what is API. So for example, when you hit anything on the website, in the background, some kind of functions are called, some kind of interface is called to talk with the business layer, to talk with the database. So for example, let's say I'll so what are the things is you click on F12. So F12 is actually a developer tool in Chrome. And if I'm clicking on, and you must be on the network, there is a network tab. Once I'm clicking on calendar, see there are different things has happened here, right? So what it has done is it has called some kind of API. So here if you see it's saying API cogmento.com API1 event, anything, which I don't know as of now. The thing is, it is calling some functions over HTTP, and the status code is 200, means it is passed actually 200 OK messages coming here. So in this way, what I'm saying is try to learn API thing as well. API is actually put on together to learn. So try to learn what is API testing, and it is just an example. So there are different kind of APIs like REST API, SOAP APIs. So for example, here I have clicked on contact just now. So what it is doing is it is calling HTTP API, this API1 template contact, and maybe it is fetching the contact for me, for whatever the user who is logged in, and you will be able to see the response, maybe yes, here the response has come, some response has come, that's fine in the JSON format here. So this is like API thing which happens in the background. And why we should learn it is because in coming days, UI part or UI functional will slowly will get less importance, because the kind of UI nowadays, the technology is very good, where you don't have to validate a particular thing. So for example, before like 15 years or 10 years, people used to test a field. Let's say text field is there, and you can put 1 to 100, and no more than 100 uh, characters should be allowed to a particular field. So people are trying to check this thing, boundary cases and all. But nowadays it is not required. The UI is itself very smart that it will not allow the 101, the 101st character, or less than what we say, um, less than zero character, null or anything, right? So it's a smart technology nowadays, where you don't have to do a lot of things on the UI functionally. Yes, that is correct, that business or the business rules, wherever it is applied, for that functional testing is important. Then what I'm saying at my last point is attend the interviews, note down what is trending, what is being asked, prepare accordingly, uh, any plan, what you want to learn, what is happening in the current testing world, and what we should learn. So I was talking about this API, already told about these things, that when you hit any URL, try to see what is happening in the network, and it's not an easy task. What you can do is you can take the help from the developer, and he or she will be able to help you to tell you everything what is happening behind the scene, what you are seeing on the user interface. So when you click on any element in the web, what is happening as a request and response, that you have to check. If it is a REST API, it will be very easy to understand. Test automation. Okay, now I'm talking about what people think, and most of the person who is working as a manual test engineer, they think that it is a hard thing to learn. So it's not that much hard, because for the test automation, you don't have to go to a long mile. You just have to learn basic things in the programming. Some advanced concepts like handling different kind of data structure, and how to write a good code, how to optimize your code, how to put exceptional handling, and how to log the result. That's it. If you know these things, and how to integrate your code uh, in a continuous integration pipeline, so that it will be executed automatically, that's enough to have, and then you can learn other things as well. But for as of now, it's like more than sufficient. When you have the basic knowledge of programming, right, you can learn 3 to 4 more things to become a good test automation engineer. Yes, it takes time. It is all about how you continue on learning. It will take time to get a good confidence level on test automation. Okay, automation, it's a demand, and future is artificial intelligence and machine learning will be added to test automation, but it will take time. People are talking about this thing, but it will take 6 to 7 years to fully implement these things in test automation. As of now, it is happening on the development, but for the testing, slowly it's happening. So as of now, what is the present? Present is automate whatever you can. So try to understand automation is nothing but making a code or a small tool which can reduce the human effort. That's the automation. It's not like that some robot will come and do something. It's not like that. Thing is, you don't have to design a robot. You just have to write some code which will help on testing. So it's not just web test automation. It's like if you're able to write a code which is generating your test input data, different kind of test input data, that is also a test automation. So question and answer session. This is my favorite session where we talk about your queries if you have anything. And before that, it is just a slide I've added randomly. It's a SWOT analysis where you have to check what are your strengths, what are the weakness, but don't think much about the weakness, and what are the threat. Don't talk about much this thing, but what are the opportunities you have. So there is a SWOT analysis you can try on Google or search it. What is SWOT analysis? You'll get a good thing about it. Okay, so question answer session here. So I'm opening this for all of you. You can unmute yourself and ask one by one. It will be good. We have 10 more minutes to talk about it.
Hello.
Yes, please introduce
Uh,
yourself and then you can ask.
Hi, I'm Anya.
Yes.
I just have a doubt, like if you're looking for a Selenium automation, you should be well versed in Java scripting, or you can just learn the basics and then go for the Selenium tool learning.
Okay, it's a good question. Okay, fine. So when you are starting with Selenium,
Okay.
Java and JavaScript both are different thing.
Yeah.
So if you are
So,
working Selenium with Java, yes, it's good to brush up the Java knowledge first and then jump into the Selenium.
okay. So it's Java. You use both because as far as I remember, we were using JavaScript because I worked
Okay.
only for a few 1 month or something,
Okay.
and we were using JavaScript for the Selenium. So you use both Java, and that's a new information for me.
Okay. Yes, Java and Selenium works with different languages, and
Okay,
Java, C Sharp, Python, JavaScript, anything is fine with the Selenium. Let me
okay,
stop the recording and then we'll have the question answer session.
okay.
Yeah, thank you.